So, have you ever really stopped to think about what's happening inside your body when you lift a weight? Today, we're going to skip the usual gym talk and get right into the science of strength. This is the real blueprint for building a stronger you. Yeah, every single one of us has been there, right? That first time you picked up a dumbbell or nervously got under a squat rack. It's that moment you decide, okay, let's do this. It is so easy to just get caught up in adding more weight to the bar, but the real story, the real magic, is what's happening on the inside, the incredible biological processes that make that lift even possible. And that, right there, is the big idea we're running with today. I want you to start thinking of yourself as an architect. Every single workout, every meal, every day you take to rest, you're not just exercising, you are designing and building something amazing. Okay, so every great architectural project needs a solid blueprint. And that blueprint always starts with a purpose. So before we even touch a weight, we've got to ask the most important question. What's your why? For most people, the journey kicks off with one of these. Maybe it's about losing some weight or feeling stronger when you're carrying the groceries, or maybe just moving through life without all the aches and pains. The best part? Strength is the foundation that helps you get all of it done. And listen, this is so important. Motivation is awesome. It's the spark that gets you started. But it's knowledge, understanding the how, that's the fuel that keeps the engine running for the long haul. It turns that why into a real plan. All right, now that we know our purpose, let's get into the good stuff. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the incredible biology that's at work every time you train. This is the science of strength. The whole field that covers this is called kinesiology. And all that means really is the study of how we move. You can think of it as the physics and the engineering principles for our big architectural project, your body. Now get this. This is one of those concepts that just blows my mind. When you pick up, say, a 50-pound dumbbell, your muscles inside your arm might be generating hundreds of pounds of internal force just to make it happen. It's just an incredible illustration of how hard your body is working under the hood. Okay, if you only remember one scientific theory from this whole explainer, please make it this one. It's called General Adaptation Syndrome, or GAS for short. It's the predictable way our bodies respond to stress, and a good workout is the perfect example of a positive, controlled stressor. And this is that roadmap in action. First, you've got the alarm phase. You know that feeling, the soreness after you try a new exercise? That's it. Then, if you recover properly, you enter the resistance phase. This is the magic. Your body doesn't just repair, it supercompensates. It builds itself back even stronger. But if you push way too hard for way too long, you hit exhaustion, overtraining. The real art of all this is learning to live in that sweet spot, right between resistance and exhaustion. So, knowing the science is one thing. But how do we actually apply it? Let's get practical. How do we, as the architects, actually sit down and draw up the blueprint for getting stronger? These right here are the non-negotiables. These are the golden rules of any smart plan. First, you have to consistently challenge your body in a way that's a little bit harder than last time. That's progressive overload. Second, your training has to actually match your goals. That's specificity. And third, you gotta mix things up just enough to keep your body guessing. That's variation. If you master these three, you're on your way. Periodization. Sounds like a complicated word, right? It just means long-term planning. The classic linear approach is like building in blocks. You might spend a few weeks building muscle size, then a few weeks on pure strength. The undulating model, on the other hand, mixes it up more often, maybe a heavy day and then a lighter, faster day within the same week. It's a great way to avoid getting stale. Now, let's talk about how often you should train, because this is a big one. The old school bodybuilder idea of hitting a muscle just once a week, well, the science is pretty clear that it's not the best way. For most of us, hitting each major muscle group 2 or even 3 times per week is way better for growth. So how do you actually do that? Well, here are 2 super popular and really effective ways. A push/pull/leg split is awesome because you can dedicate a ton of work to those muscles on their given day. An upper-lower split, on the other hand, is maybe the simplest way to guarantee you're hitting everything twice a week, which is perfect if your main goal is strength. Okay, so the principles are our foundation, but it's the execution that actually builds the skyscraper. Let's zoom way in and apply all of this stuff to one of the greatest exercises of all time, the squat.
But hold on, before we squat, let's cover a universal rule of stability that applies to so many lifts, like the bench press. It's called the 5-point body contact position. It's just a simple checklist to make sure you're stable and powerful. Your head, your shoulders, your butt, and both of your feet are planted firmly. It's a simple rule, but it's a game changer for safety and performance.
Now this is a perfect example of specificity in action. Just changing where the bar sits on your back totally changes the lift. A high bar position, sitting up on your traps, keeps your torso upright and really targets the quads. But a low bar position, resting on your rear delts, lets you lean forward more, bring in the super strong glutes and hamstrings, and ultimately lift the most weight possible. It's the same basic exercise, but for a totally different architectural purpose. So now that we see how important the details are, let's talk about the big mistakes that can bring your progress to a screeching halt. Lifting with your ego instead of good form, that's a recipe for disaster. Working out randomly with no plan, that's like building without a blueprint. And skipping out on sleep and good food, that's like pouring concrete but never letting it set. Oh, and let's just kill this myth right now. Proper strength training actually makes you more flexible, not less. Okay, we've covered the science, we've got the blueprint, but now we get to the most important part. How do we make this a lifelong practice? The goal isn't just to build a cool building, it's to maintain and improve it for the rest of our lives. And lucky for us, we've got some amazing tools to help. Fitness trackers can give you real data on your sleep and recovery, basically telling you when it's smart to go hard and when you should maybe pull back a bit. And training apps help you log everything, creating this incredible record of your progress over time. I think this quote just wraps it all up perfectly. Strength training isn't about tearing your body down. It's about challenging it intelligently so that it can respond by building itself back up, stronger and more resilient. It's a story of renewal. So we end right back where we started, with you as the architect. You've got the science, you've got the blueprint, you've got the tools. The only question left is, what are you gonna build?